This episode contains explicit language that is not very good for tiny ears. So if you're with your kids, put your headphones on. Take it away, Mom and Dad. It's time for the show. Let's go.
Hello and welcome to Anatomy of Sex. I'm your host, Melanie Studley.
Yo, guys, what's up? My name is Seth Studley. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. Here we go.
I don't know.
Yes, thank you very much. This is a free episode. If you want more of this, go to patreon.com/anatomy of marriage. If you're new here, we talk about sex, intimacy, and rock and roll, and everything in between, and we get real. We give real help for real couples. And today, we got some fun, this is from Facebook stuff, right?
Yes.
Thank you for joining us. This is real life for real couples. This is what we do. But today, we are talking about top reasons that women feel uncomfortable with intimacy. Say it again, Melanie.
Top reasons that women feel uncomfortable with intimacy. And I wanted to do this episode because I think there's a lot of conversation that is not being had around the reasons that women feel uncomfortable. And if we could start these conversations more openly and get like input from multiple people, I think it would help couples have better intimacy down the line. Like I think that I think there's a lot of stuff that men aren't understanding. And I also want to do one down the road too that's top reasons that men feel uncomfortable with intimacy. I think that's a valid and important thing to talk about as well. But as Seth was mentioning, I did post this to our women's Facebook group, Anatomy of Us Women's Group. And I basically just said, hey, we're doing an episode about what makes you uncomfortable around sex and intimacy, and got a bunch of answers. So I want to talk through a bunch of those. Were you going to say something?
Yeah, first let's start with the question that you even posed to these ladies. It says, women, we are doing an episode about all about why women feel uncomfortable around sex and intimacy. And says, instead of me talking about it for other people, I wanted to hear directly from y'all. What makes you uncomfortable when it comes to sex and intimacy?
Don't say names. Just
No
say
names, of course. So just answer it for what made or sometimes even makes you uncomfortable with sex and intimacy.
I think currently, this is going to sound really out of place, but I think maybe a lot of women would agree with this, is that it's not like, so we've been married for 17 years. I don't think we have a problem in the sex and intimacy area, but I will say the intimacy side of things, meaning like the feeling connected side, I feel like what makes me uncomfortable is that I still feel like I'm doing the lion's share of like the housework and thinking about things that are not even remotely on your radar. And as weird as that sounds, I have to get over that. Like I'm not comfortable in that area, which makes it that much more challenging for me to want to be intimate with you.
So you're not comfortable with like just stuff that has to get done. So you're thinking about that rather than sex?
I'm not comfortable with the fact that you're not doing those things. I know that sounds like a really odd question because in all other areas of sex and intimacy, I feel very comfortable.
Right. Well, that's weird.
Thanks. Thanks so much.
You're messed up, man.
Your feelings? Weird.
No,
so again,
but,
I don't know how to...
Because I do a lot of stuff around the house. So is it a new conversation we need to have around, hey, do some more stuff around the house?
No, I actually, this is a perfect example of it. So yesterday you took the kids... What did you take them to the river?
Yeah.
And everyone was like, Mom, you should come. And all I could think was like, y'all, you see the shit that needs to get done in this house. Why don't you say, hey, we'll all help Mom clean, which why are we helping Mom clean? Why aren't we helping ourselves clean?
Yeah.
For the next 20 minutes, then we can all go to the river.
Then
but
we
I was
can go.
like, I don't even have fucking time to think about that. I don't. It makes me so mad. Like, I don't want to have to sit and school you as to why I should also be treated like a human.
Right.
Like, I don't even care anymore with like, it's so frustrating. And so just let Dad go. Just go take the kids to the river. I'd rather not have to teach everyone that Mom has to do. Like the laundry doesn't magically get done by a laundry fairy.
Yes.
It's me. Right. And when you go snowboarding and leave all your stuff, it doesn't magically get put away. It's me. And so that, like, if there's one thing that I think is like a block or a whatever with intimacy, a break. Or a hurdle to get over, it would be that. And I think a lot of women would resonate with what I just said, but maybe not know how to put words to it because it is an intimacy blocker.
Here, listen to this, husband.
Yeah, do it. But it's an intimacy blocker.
Right.
Like literally an intimacy blocker when you don't think about the fact that like I need a break.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to just be doing stuff constantly
Mm-hmm.
and then want want to fool around vibes.
Right.
Like, no. But
All right. I hear what you're saying.
that's something that I'm working on in a bunch of different ways. And then also I'm like, I know that that's its own journey, but I'm not going to stop intimacy because of that.
Right.
Make sense?
Mm-hmm. I hear what you're saying, and a lot of dudes can hear that or hear them wives say the same thing and say, listen, I'm out of the house for 10 or 11 hours, dead tired, and I want to be a good husband. And sometimes it's just I overlook it, or it's a complicated thing. But as long as we're having a good, decent, respectful conversation around it, like, yes, I hear what you're saying, and also understand that I'm beat ass tired when I get home too. But I still want to help.
How could you be?
Or
That's
not
what I
even
don't
help.
understand. If you work in
What
an
do you mean
office
help?
and you're a man and you work out of the house and you sit in an office all day,
Mm-hmm.
you have not navigated the like biopsychosocial spiritual world of 3 children. You have not navigated laundry and cleaning floors and killing ants. And,
I'm gonna kill you.
I mean, I changed my
No,
own headlight because
right.
you won't do it.
Mm-hmm.
I fixed the
So
fence.
listen.
Like, that's what I'm talking
So
about.
a lot of guys would be like, I wish I could stay home and stuff. You know what I'm saying? So it's all relative, but sometimes what a lot of people do is because like, oh, my toil isn't your toil, isn't my toil or whatever, is maybe because it's not tied to money or something like that, but it is all relative. Like you staying home with kids or moms or whoever staying home with kids actually can pale in comparison to like a cop who discovered a dead body and has been on a 12-hour shift. You know what I'm saying?
I know, but you aren't a cop.
I know, but it's just, I'm saying it is relative. And going back to as long as we're having a healthy, productive conversation around it, and like, well, you don't do what I do, so I'm withholding this from you. I'm like, well, that's not helpful in any way. Or like, I work and make the money, so I'm not doing anything around the house.
Again, I think in this situation, like in the context of reasons why women feel uncomfortable with intimacy, for me anyway, and I know for tons of women that is a huge factor in it. Like we see our husbands come home from work or whatever. Again, this is general speaking, broad brushstrokes, whatever. And we are like, there is no way on God's green earth you're more tired than I am. You have not worked harder than I have. And that's not, some women, if you're just eating bonbons and watching Real Housewives, then you can't say these things.
You said housewives.
Housewives. I'm Buzz. Buzz can say his name. Fly Guy.
If you're a mom or dad that knows that book, then you get all the points.
House. Anyway.
Okay, so let's kind of get back to the topic here. This is a Patreon Anatomy of Sex free episode, and these are things we talk about. So why don't you open up their computer and talk about the top reasons that women feel uncomfortable with intimacy. We didn't make these up. These are real listeners, real people in our community.
So I thought it would be funny to make up names. But I'm not going to do that because I'll get really distracted.
Just use Greg says.
LaFonda says, so many. I wanted all the names to be from Napoleon Dynamite.
Kip says.
So many reasons. For generations, women have been told if we talk about sex, we're being crude, inappropriate, or attention seeking. It is a taboo thing that you just don't bring up. In addition, you throw purity culture into it and it's a whole other aspect. Then all of a sudden that stigma carries through into relationships as well. It's uncomfortable to talk to our husbands about sex and intimacy because it's not been an open conversation in the past. It's easy to become afraid of your performance in bed and not want to talk about what happens under the sheets in fear of rejection and hurt feelings, etc. Sex and intimacy is such a complicated web, and a lot of the time it's easier to ignore it than to get into and over the uncomfortableness of it. I think that's a really... I want to talk about, or did you have something you want to say?
Well, just that last line. Yes, I know it is absolutely complicated, and there's so many factors: past history, religion, anything, partners, body image, all kinds of stuff. It's very complicated, and you say a lot of the times it's easier to ignore it than to get into it and over the uncomfortableness of it. But again, what I've been saying for, I don't know, I've been on a real kick of conflict avoided is conflict multiplied. And have you ever heard of bed death?
No.
Not deathbed, but bed death.
No, I could get the concept of it, though. That's cool.
Yeah, Tom Bilyeu talks about it, him and his wife,
Lisa
Bilyeu, and they are kick-ass. They're awesome. Go check that out. Impact Theory, Tom Bilyeu and Lisa Bilyeu. But he talks about bed death, and this is just anecdotally my remembrance of it. It's like people aren't having sex anymore. They're married, they're roommates, and they fall into the trap of it is just easier than, hey, I love you. I can lean over and give you a kiss, but then Sloop onto my
Sloop.
Sloop.
I gave you the kiss. Sloop.
Right. Onto my side of the bed. Weeks, months, years.
You would do that. That's what it would be for you. You don't do anything.
Oh, no. Oh, no. I don't do anything.
Keep talking.
Anyway, bed death. Like, I could translate that phrase to so many things. Like, oh, alarm went off, hit snooze, didn't go to the gym. You can call it gym death or belly death or something. It's like, oh, I have a huge stomach now, beer belly or whatever.
Right.
It's just easier. I'm just going to ignore it. It's like, I can go on. I'm making money and like, being an okay dad. It's okay. It's just like getting by, right? I talked about this concept of leaving stuff on the table. It's like we oftentimes leave so much on the table by way of money, career, experiences, adventure.
We leave more on the
sex.
table than we take off and do something with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the amount of possibilities that we have, again, in any realm, whether that's parenting, your own business, sex and intimacy with your partner, like just marital fun. Like we leave more undone than we actually do.
You know what I just got an image of? So I talk about Ed Milet. He's one of my favorite guys. Go listen to his podcast as well. And he talks about like hell, proverbial hell would be, he dies, and he does the whole story. He dies, he gets up to heaven, pearly gate dude. What is it?
St.
Petersburg. St. Petersburg. He lands in St. Petersburg. Or he talks to God and says, oh, Ed, so glad you made it up here. You know what? He just gives like two scenarios. Like, you know what? Everything that I had in store for you, you did. You had an awesome marriage. You helped millions of people. You had a great relationship with your wife. Your kids loved you. You did all this stuff. There's nothing left on the table here. You did it, man. Good job.
High five from God.
High five from God. Your hand would go flying off. It would just dissolve. But anyway, his version of hell would be, hey, man, oh, wow, so good to see you.
Same thing. You get up to heaven.
Yeah, you made it to heaven, but and I'm thinking of it as a table. It's like, okay, on our table, our podcast table here, just imagine Bahamas, tons of money, awesome experiences with your wife, unbelievable relationships with your kids, changed millions of lives, done this, helped your grandma, flew your parents out for a trip, did this, changed careers 5 times, you loved every single second of it. You could run, you could jump, everything, and that is all on the table, and you only took this, what your current life is. And like God saying, here's your table.
Like he was saying,
it had everything on here, and you would look at it and go, I could have done that. I could have quit my job and like had all the money or had the best relationship ever with my wife or done this. That was on the table.
Like that was an option.
You had it in store, but I never took it. Ugh.
He says his worst nightmare is meeting the man that he could become and having never achieved that.
That's powerful.
Yeah. And I think that's really like sort of relevant for what you're saying. Like it's just easier to not talk about these, to sloop over in the bed, as you said. But I do want to talk about, it says for generations, women have been told that if we talk about sex, we're being crude / inappropriate / attention seeking. And I think that there's a lot to that. Women are also, again, broad brush strokes here. I'm talking from my experience of my life as a woman and not someone else's. So don't get offended at what my experience is.
You can't. You only have one life.
Okay, thanks. But anyway, with this idea of being crude or inappropriate and attention seeking, it's really weird because like being a woman, and this is something I'm seeing with Hattie, who is turning 10 next month. She's watching now and seeing the discrepancy or disparity between what her brothers can do and what she is allowed to do. She can't quite figure it out. She's just little enough that she is confused by it. Like, why can they walk around without shirts on and I can't? Like, she doesn't look like a woman, so obviously it doesn't matter to her right now. But in her brain, she's like, oh, that doesn't make sense. And so I have to share with her why you can't say, Hattie, can't say balls, but your brothers can. Why? Like, why is that okay? Like,
why couldn't she say it at home?
No, she can say it at home, but we definitely need her to know that she can't say it at school.
Oh, yeah.
You see what I mean?
Well, if the boys said it too, it'd be weird. But I guess,
it would be as weird. It wouldn't be as weird at all. And let me put you back in 7th grade, Greer Middle, Tigers or whatever you were.
I went to Blue Ridge High School, not Greer. Thank you
I
very much.
said middle school, not high school. What middle school?
Blue Ridge Middle School.
Blue Ridge Middle School. And imagine if there was a girl, Tammy, and Tammy,
My cousin's name.
Tammy talked about balls once.
Mhm.
What would you and all your guy friends say about Tammy?
What?
What would you say beyond the word what?
I don't know.
Or is that as far as it would go?
Probably be like, what? So that makes me think of, I think we shared the story on the show. One of our kids was playing like Take a Bow, when middle school boys hit each other in the nuts, and they got in trouble for it. Did I read that email? No, I read it to our friends, right?
I shared, it's in the queue to be on
Right.
there.
So what if Hattie was, or girls rather, would, hitting each other in the vagina?
Right. They would never do that. They would be so, and then everyone would say, oh, they're perverted. That's so gross.
Yeah. What are they doing? Where
Right.
did they learn that?
Like,
yeah.
so socially and culturally, to have anything that is to do with the body, it's either you're allowed to talk about it like medically, like you are on your period. That's a medical thing. Like there's that, but you're not allowed to like talk about your boobs in a way that's joking. That's not even an option. And if you did, thinking it was silly, you're perverted. Everyone around you is sexualizing you all of the time. So there's this weird line what happens to adults who, you grow up with this type of adolescent or whatever childhood. You grow up knowing I actually can't talk about my body. And
Right.
if I do, which this is something that has bothered me even in our marriage, like if I talk about my body, you immediately turn it into something sexual every time. Whether it's like, oh, just that little sound tells me I'm not safe. As that sounds like a really harsh word to say, safe, but it says
it's like,
it's in a different
I wasn't
arena
talking
now.
about that. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's like me saying, oh, I cut my leg, and then you run your hand up my leg, and I'm like, F off. I cut
Right.
my leg. Like, don't do that.
Right.
And that is sort of like something that I think is always in the radar of women all the time. And so to not be
Does
allowed.
it feel like you're a gazelle on the sunny savannah?
The sunny savannah of death.
The sunny savannah of Africa. Like you're always, well, geez, I hope you don't feel that way in our own marriage, but I can imagine that some women do, especially like teenager or middle school girls or high school girls. It's like, oh, well, wait a minute. It's just like everybody's trying to do stuff.
Yes, that is what it feels like. And
Right.
we'll continue to talk more, but I do think it's interesting. Like she's saying, if we talk about our bodies or sex, we're being crude or inappropriate or attention seeking. So we are being the bad person here.
Right.
If we talk about something completely normal. This next lady says, I would say when I was younger, I felt I didn't deserve to be pleasured and sex and orgasm was just for men. I don't feel this way anymore. But I think there is still women who believe that lie, that sex and orgasm is just for men. And then it says, which can make asking for what you want feel not allowed and very uncomfortable, and also make sex a chore instead of a desirable coupling adventure, which I love that like language, coupling adventure.
Coupling adventure.
But
good.
yeah, I think this is another thing where, you talk about that sort of root of shame, that root of like, you're a whore. You said that thing, you're slutty. Like you wanted to kiss that boy or do something with like, that's gross. Like for some reason, if a woman desires anything sexually, she becomes a whorish, right? And so then you add in a layer of getting married and wanting to have sex, and then wanting to have sex be better and say, well, I actually want these things. So then there's this like wall. It's similar to the block that happens when someone has like been raised in a home where there's like fighting all the time, but they want to be really loving and kind with their spouse, and they
Right.
don't know how. And so they're literally like muted. They're like, I can't even say,
You don't know what to do.
I don't know what to do. Like, I want to hug you and sit with you and just be happy, but my brain is like shutting off because I don't have the words for it. I've been told
Yeah.
that that's wrong. If I did that in my family of origin, I would have gotten made fun of. And it's very similar where you're like, your whole life, especially if you grew up in church, cross your legs, sit like a lady. Don't ever do this. Don't ever say that. And then you're supposed to ask for your husband to like do something to you or whatever. Like that's not going to happen.
So it takes an amount of comfortableness, I believe, with your own body. And this is for guys too, with your own body, and then being able to put yourself out there and say what you want
Right.
sexually.
Will you
right?
read this one?
I would also say past trauma I had as a Christian from a marriage Christian Christian counselor in premarital counseling the counselor
Can
said,
I read it? You just butchered it.
I would also say past trauma I had as a Christian marriage counselor and premarital counseling say that I need to do as my husband wishes to fulfill him no matter what is asked, as long as no other humans are involved, which was very toxic as my ex-husband was an abusive man, but I was told I had to. Well, yeah, then you have just another, I assume that marriage counselor was a guy, which most of them are in
which is something
Christian
I
counseling.
do think is important to say, and I think this is important in the church in general, and this is just a critique that I see. I like church. I like religions. I don't care about them or have a preference, but a lot of them, if they're driven by one gender, are going to have an agenda. So if you have men all gathering together saying, hey, look, we can actually tell these women what to do. Why don't we tell them they have to do whatever the man wants? You know, I mean, like, think of it. That's not a word from God. That is a word from like Tim over in,
a dude,
building 4, who's...
My name's Tim.
And I think it's important to notice that. And then especially too, people who are gendered have biases. Like if you have a male counselor who is a marriage counselor at a church who feels privileged anyway, saying to you, well, just do what your husband wants. It's not that hard. I mean,
Right.
Think about that. That is so very, very potentially injurious and bad. So I guess I'm only sharing that and saying
potentially, it is.
It is. Yes.
Right.
I'm saying that to like put that awareness into your mind. That does not mean that every man is going to say that. Every counselor that's a man is bad, but put that awareness into your mind that people make stupid choices like that.
Okay, on to the next one. Man, these are long too, but they're good. I'll be open and honest here. It has always frustrated me that men biologically are easier in the mechanics of sex. It can be mindless with the same motion and it'll work. That's kind of funny. However, we as women take so much time. Everyone has a different spot or spots, and I could go on for a while about the fact that I'm just learning where the heck those spots are. Like, why are we so hard and elusive? It's very vulnerable and sometimes even embarrassing when you have no idea what you like, so you're just fishing around. That's funny too.
I know. Are we 9 years old?
Yeah, basically. That doesn't feel very sexy and can ruin the experience. It would be nice sometimes if we were mechanically as easy as men. It might take the stress off my mind of wanting to find the spot, but having no idea where it is. Directing your husband to do this or that takes boldness and can be very outside my comfort zone. So I have some ideas on this, but I don't want to be like, hey, just find the spot. It's sexy,
I want to say this comment first. Last night we went and saw The Lost City.
Yeah.
And this makes me think of like, we're them, the characters that are like constantly making these hilarious like innuendos, but not quite. That made me laugh.
You're Sandra Bullock and I'm Channing Tatum.
Yeah. That was weird. I thought you said his name backwards. I thought his name was Tanning Chatham when you said that.
Nope.
That was so weird. So anyway, I think that this is a very important, there's a lot to unpack here, but one of the things that she says is like the mechanics of it, just like wieners are easier to please. They're external, right? And if you don't know this, the clitoris is massive. Like it goes down the sides of the labia. It's not just a little teeny dot at the top. It's actually like if you cut a penis in half and like made
it's like a wishbone.
It is like a wishbone, exactly. And
from a chicken.
The top, the little nub is the
devil's doorknob.
The devil's doorbell.
Doorknob. Well, you said they're bigs.
Honk, 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 honk.
I know. Does this feel good?
But one of the things I want to say is, where do I even start? It says, okay, well, one of the things it says, why are we so hard and elusive? Like, that makes me mad. We're not. The standard of sexual pleasure is not men. It's whatever it wants to be. It's not, oh, I don't have sex like a man. I can't orgasm as quickly as a man. Therefore, I am not as good. So please get that out of your head first.
Let me tell one thing. So what is it? Like, you guys have 3 times more nerve endings than we do?
And the clitoris has way more. It's like the only organ in any animal that is made just for pleasure. It's like doesn't do anything else.
And you can have multiple orgasms, not just one and done like dudes, right?
Multiple orgasmi.
And then you can have a clitoral orgasm or a vaginal orgasm, correct? Am I right in this?
You can also have a
information?
corgasm.
Corgasm? Never heard of that.
You wouldn't.
A coregasm?
Mhm.
What is it?
It's like, it's brought on by working your core muscles. People get it from exercising.
Kegels?
No.
Okay, so now I know that women can have 3 types of orgasms, multiple. Ooh, one of all 3? That'd be probably pretty awesome.
9.
Right.
But what's your point?
So the point is, just because like I can, or men can just go and have an orgasm basically in 2 minutes kind of thing with anything, right? Doesn't mean that it is as high quality.
Yeah, think of
right?
it
like think about it. Like
microwave food versus, like, think of some desserts at Bakery Nouveau or like a French restaurant take like days to make.
right.
Days. You heard me. Days. Wine. Years.
Right.
So does it mean that the fast thing is the best thing? No.
No,
I'm
absolutely
not interested in microwave nuggets when I can have filet mignon,
Yeah.
you know?
So get with it.
What else are you going to say about that? Sorry.
Well, no, just that idea. Like, I would encourage you to, like, I wish I could have multiple orgasms. That'd be cool, you know, and different kinds and stuff like that. But I think part of this is, it's easier for a man. I kind of resent that. But it's like, you know what? Maybe I'm gonna reframe this, because we were talking about leaving stuff on the table. You have all kinds of orgasms that you can have in spots that you don't even know you have yet, and you're leaving that on the table.
Right.
But you're comparing it to the just wham bam thank you man of a dude kind of thing.
Think of it like this. Like if you were searching for, like on the table, you said, I'm going to use the chicken nugget analogy. Like if you're saying, oh, well, my husband can have an orgasm in 2 minutes, chicken nuggets, about the time it takes to make some dino chicken nuggets, right?
Ugh.
And then you're looking around on your own table going, where's my chicken nuggets? Where's my chicken nuggets? When really you're after a filet mignon.
Right.
You don't even want a chicken nugget.
A bacon wrapped filet mignon.
That's the only kind I eat.
Wait, that didn't sound right.
It's the kind of filet mignon I eat. So you can take that and stick it up your filet mignon. But you know what I'm saying? Like you're looking for your husband's pleasure cycle to be a representation of yours almost. I mean, you aren't saying that to us, but that's kind of what we're reading into it. And so what I would encourage you to do is take his map out of the equation and just worry about finding your filet mignon.
And you got to put yourself out there, literally. Like I remember
here's my filet.
No, when I was taking a bunch of sexuality classes, I think of course Tina was talking about it or something like, and this was like a class based on just sexuality, right? We're talking about men and women and stuff like that. Or maybe you said it or something, but like Tina was telling a story of some workshop she went to. I don't know. I'm like butchering the story, but it was literally the woman had a mirror on the floor and she was looking at herself, kind of thing.
That's a thing.
It's a thing. It's like, and I'm like, oh man, I guess that would really be kind of feel vulnerable if the first time you're hearing about that is on a show. You're gonna be like, what the hell?
Imagine that you're okay. This is gonna sound really weird. Please, if
you're fixing to go there somewhere, I have no idea.
I'm fixing to go somewhere funny.
Okay.
Imagine that your wiener didn't work at all, like a man's wiener does, but somewhere up.
Can't imagine that because I'd be dead.
Up under your nutsack, the pleasure center was somewhere up there, and you had to find it, but you couldn't see it, and you certainly couldn't. Like, you wouldn't be like, "Hey, partner, come look up under here for this." When you push some spots, see if something happens.
Right.
How would you feel about that? Would you like that?
Well, that's kind of like just jumping right into it. Yes. No, I would not like that.
It's not very far off.
Right.
You start listening to Jordan Peterson books and you'll rock your world with what you think about all this stuff. It is mind-boggling. Really? Yes.
How so? Give me an example.
Like he talks about like the, even like the genitals of a woman are hidden. And so it's like this treasure and how it plays out in like different cultures and their artwork. And it's all true and it's amazing. And like, you're like, everything is galactic and aliens and turns into aliens. Anyway. I think that this is, I know another thing I was going to say is that she's saying in this one, it feels vulnerable and embarrassing when you have no idea what you're doing. And then to ask your husband to participate, that is like terrible,
right?
Or, feels super uncomfortable. But hold on, wait. So in that, what I would say is, again, your husband isn't going to have a clue what he should do or shouldn't do, or what you like or what you don't like. So don't start there, because if your husband has seen pornography, is going to think that that's what he should do.
Right.
So that's one of the biggest factors in all of this, that men think pornography is like real, and it's not. It is definitely not true to what women want. Again, unless your wife loves that stuff and is like, yeah, that's what I want, assume that it's wrong and she doesn't want that, because that's typically what's happening. And so, yeah,
Assume
you
that it's wrong?
gotta steer your ship, lady.
You said something confusing. Assume that it's wrong and that she doesn't want that?
Yes, assume that what you saw in pornography is wrong it's inaccurate.
Well, I'm not even saying in porn or anything, but I'm just saying, like, if your wife or your partner's like, yeah, that feels connecting and pleasurable.
That's not what I meant.
Okay.
I was saying, if you're a husband, and so if you're asking your husband to please you, but your husband's only frame of reference is porn, he will do the wrong thing, because it is not in pornography what women typically want.
Got it.
It's not. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's
okay.
what I'm saying.
Okay. I want to go back to the last thing that she said there. Let's see. This takes boldness and can be very outside my comfort zone. Let me tell you, sister, and I'm not claiming to know about female sexuality because I don't have a clit, right? But I will tell you this. All growth comes in discomfort, right? You looked at me weird because I said clit.
I just know you do. You have a glans. Homologs. You do have a clitoris.
No, I don't.
You have a glans. You have a homolog. We're homologous.
Oh, boy.
Homologonous.
Okay, but here's what I'm saying. All the growth comes in the discomfort. That's where we grow. So push yourself a little bit in this area and it will pay off. Okay. This lady says she feels self-conscious. Even when I was 5 foot 8 inches and 120 pounds in college and had my perfect pre-baby body, I didn't look like they did on TV and definitely not like in porn. One look at me would just take me right out of the mood. Husband has never said anything negative about my looks ever, but it's still there. Also worrying about not doing it correctly. He also never said this. Others have in the past, though. So this is a lot of
comparison is the thief of
comparison
joy.
and assumption. So even if you hadn't said something, say that I had a $20,000 a year job. That's all I had, right? And I was just like, oh my gosh, she hates me. She doesn't say this and I don't know that, but you never once said, I wish you'd go make 30,000 like, Dexter over here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's my own stuff. Now, as a therapist, I want to be like, I'm understanding. I'm trying to be empathetic about this. However, really question and push back on those false thoughts. Those are false thinking. If you never said a damn thing about my $20,000 a year job and it was all in my head, then it is up to me because I know I'm the only one who knows what I'm thinking. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, Melanie, I've been struggling with this. I have a $20,000 a year job. Do you still love me? Do you think I'm a good husband? Do you think I'm a good dad? All this stuff.
Or does it impact how you see me?
Or does it impact how you see me? You might say, I love you no matter what. And that's not the thing or this or that or whatever. Even I've struggled with that. I make way more than 20K. But you know that sign that's in our bedroom? What does it say? Love you now? Say it.
Loved you then, love you now, something will.
Love you then.
No.
Love you now. Always have, always will. No, love you now.
Love you then, always will.
So it's something like, hey, I love you.
It's from
then,
Hobby Lobby.
I love you then. I love you now. Always have, and I always still will, or something like that. And like you got that. And I don't know if you really thought about it, or if you're like, oh, that's just a cool saying. I'll get it, or whatever. But I think it was more than that because you're special. Why are you rolling your eyes? I just
Of course it was more than that.
So when I read that, it's in our bedroom. I'm like, that is reassuring and helps me with my own self-doubts, you know?
I just wish you could remember what the quote is.
I know. You can't either, so
I know.
We're both at fault. But that's a reflection on my things.
It's like, love you then, love you still, always have, always will.
There you go.
I think.
And that to me is like, wow. Like
I bought that after you like lost your mind one time. So they
lost my mind.
Yes, you got very mad. And that actually has a large significance in my life of why I bought that.
Thank you.
You're not welcome. But I think one of the things that's really cool to say in this one where she's saying comparison is the thief of joy. But again, you have a spouse who doesn't sound like he has ever said anything unkind about your body. Or,
says it in this.
Or about how you're, physically showing up and whatever. So you have a partner, it sounds like, that you could say, hey, man, I really do struggle with this.
Talk about it.
Can you support me in this? Like, you can ask for the reassurance and the support and the love and the help and the attunement that you didn't have or that you feel like you're missing. And that's really, really cool. That's one of my favorite parts about like when your marriage is healthy. You can ask these things of your partner. And if you've got a good, loving, caring spouse, they'll say, yeah. And then they'll help you, which is awesome.
Plus, a problem shared is a problem halved. So you're carrying this as like, oh, I'm ugly, or, baby body or whatever.
Which is
you're
not
carrying
ugly.
that. Yeah, it's not ugly at all. You're carrying that. But if you share it, then guess what? It's halved. You shared it with somebody. And hopefully, sounds like your husband's a great dude, kind of like me.
Continue.
He'll listen to it and go, oh, I did not think that. I think you're so beautiful, or this or that, or whatever. So
I want to read the next one. So it says, I think for me, it's definitely asking for what I want, or responding when my husband asks. Also, when I don't speak up and let my husband assume things instead of telling him how things actually felt. So then it makes it harder to speak up the next time, but I'm naturally less likely to speak up for myself. This is a really, really big deal. I hear this a lot where there is, now I'm going to say something. Men, if you're listening to this and you have watched something in pornography and then you go tell your wife that you want to try it, you are a dipshit unless your wife likes porn, because you are setting her up for failure. Wait, I just said twice. You're setting her up for failure. She wasn't the original person that you saw doing that act. She will always have that person in her mind. Even if she has never seen the person, she will be like, he's comparing me to her. And then the next set of questions out of her mind is, well, has that lady had any kids? Does that lady have any stretch marks? Does that lady, whatever? So right out of the gate, if you saw something in porn that you're saying, hey, I want to try this thing, you're never going to have a happy wife unless, again, she likes porn, and some women do. Some wives like it.
So I'm reading it a little bit
but I'm just caveating, starting with that, because it is when my husband asks for something, I'm just covering that base. So I know that that's not exactly what she meant. But also, hold on. So then, but I do know that there are things that men have seen in pornography or that they want to try. I'm going to throw out a word here. Anal sex. There it is. I said it. A lot of
first time we've talked about that on the show.
Women talk about that their husbands want them to try to do that. And it's this exact scenario. So when I don't speak up and let my husband assume things instead of telling him how things actually felt. So and I'm not saying that that's what this person was requested. It's not written in there, but I'm using that as an example. So things like that, or oral sex. Like there are things that are physically uncomfortable for women to do. Some women do not like them. And then their husband asks for it. And the woman, not wanting to be like, stick in the mud, acquiesces to the request, to her own discomfort, but doesn't say anything because it'll kill the mood and her husband might get pissy.
Right.
So then it makes the husband think, oh, she loved that. She wants to do that again. And so it's this really bad cycle that literally like closes women down. It makes them like fearful of sex. It does. It's like a body keeps the score thing.
Right.
Like you're getting physically injured during sex.
Right. Well, yeah, that's don't do that. Right. So what you're saying ties back to the basically first thing that she says. I think for me, it's definitely asking for what I want. So this,
but hold on. She says we're responding when my husband asks.
You could have so I could take this response and go, hey, and the main question be, hey, ladies, what restaurants do you like to go to? Hey, what do you like to do for fun? You can say, well, man, that's a good question. What do I like to do for fun, or what kind of cuisine do I like to eat? Well, I think for me, it's definitely asking for what I want, or responding when my husband has asked. I want to go to Burger King, but I know you love McDonald's, so I was just going to not go to Burger King kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? So the main thing that I am picking up from this is, she starts it off with exactly like she open ends and then bookends. I think for me, it's definitely asking for what I want. And then the very last sentence, but I am naturally less likely to speak up for myself. So there's the thing. I don't want to assume anything, but are you less likely to speak up for yourself in things that aren't sexual, right? Money, kids, job, career, home, restaurants, vacations, you know what I'm saying? So that's what I would focus on in this. What does it look like for you, lady, speaking up for yourself in a kind way? Because there's no reason that you can't. Guess what? Melanie will speak up for herself if you don't. So there's no reason that you can't. It's kind of like that thing that I say all the time. It's like, okay, if you don't do it, somebody else will. Melanie will definitely do it, right? Your friends will definitely do it. So are they way better than you? Are they better trained or any of this? No, not at all. So I want to empower you and encourage you. There's no reason that you can't. Like, hey, I like this thing. Or when you guys are having sex and something felt gooder than something else, better, say, hey, do that thing again or whatnot.
Right.
And then let that evolve.
And I want to put it into the language of empowering. Like, that is a very empowering place to be in. And I mean, I've been there. Like, you're doing a thing and I'm like, oh, that feels really good. Do that longer. Do that more. Don't change the position yet or whatever. And that is empowering. And hold on, I think we should make this a 2-part series.
Yeah, because there's like 1,000 more questions.
Yeah. So
or responses.
But I want to wrap this one up, and then we can go do the next one next week. But so I want to really encourage you that speaking up for what you want and what feels good to you is empowering to you, because then you get more of what you want and what feels good. But also it's helpful for your husband, unless your husband's like really bad. Like if you say, I want to do this, he's like, I'm not doing that then, which I know some people are like that. So I'm hoping your husband's not like that. He's not like a 2-year-old baby. But the hope is that, or the thought though, is if you can clearly communicate what you desire, it gives your husband a map to better know what to do. And he's not going to go wandering off and do something you don't want, because he's busy doing things you do want. Does that make sense? And so, and actually, how would you feel if I was like, hey, I don't know, what do you want to do for sex? Like, I don't know, versus like, hey, I want to do this thing. What's the difference between the two scenarios?
Confidence is hella sexy.
That's hella sexy. Oh,
sorry. Hecka.
So, but what is it? How does it help you showing up for that as well? Is it helpful for your partner to know what they want?
Think about it this way.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Now how should I think about it?
Think about it this way. If you, like, say that you're on, there's so many scenarios. So,
well, I mean, I'll just use a restaurant one again. Like,
yeah, a restaurant.
There's nothing dumber than going to a restaurant and being like, what do you want? Well, I don't know. What do you want?
No, not even what do you want. It's like, hey, where do you want to go? I don't know. Or if you came to me and said, hey, I would love to go to Lucky Star Chinese tonight.
Yes. It's my favorite. Lucky Chopsticks.
And you said, please, can we go? Please, let me. And you were like,
I just need that oolong tea. I just need that fried rice.
That's right. What would I say? I'll be like, oh, no, that's boring. I'd be like, all right, I can get in the mood for that. Unless it was like, well, we went there last night, so maybe not.
I'd go to Lucky Chopsticks twice.
I know you would. But the point is, it has a lot to do about emotion and enthusiasm and energy around it. Like, no one hates, everybody hates, like, they don't hate them, but it's annoying as hell, people being indecisive all the time. What do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? What feels good? Well, does that feel good? I can't tell because you're just laying there.
Yeah, think about it. Let's expand that concept out.
Let's get on it. You know what I'm saying? If you want something and it's not ridiculous, like we're talking about this morning, like, I want to go to Disney World, every day, every week. Like, well, okay, that's crazy. I'll go like once or twice a year, but get real, Seth, get real kind of thing. And this also comes from Jordan Peterson. Say what you want, literally say what you want, and then have a real conversation about it. Hey, Melanie, like if I came to you, and because we have great conversations, mostly of which are on the podcast, which is so fun. If I said, Melanie, I actually want to have sex 3 or 4 times a week. Like, I'm doing everything else, but that is just something that I really want to do. It's so important, and I'll foreplay and do all this stuff, and I will make you want to have sex with me, kind of thing. And I was like really enthusiastic about it. I would love to see
you try that. If you were like,
do you know that husbands listening just lost their brain right now?
If you
they'd be like, what? You just said you would have sex 3 to 4 times a week? They would quit their jobs, fire everybody, and drive 180 miles an hour home right now.
Fire everybody. You're fired. You're fired. I think that's a funny concept. Like, I have yet to know what that looks like, but I would love to find out. I'll lay that bacon on you 3 times a week if you show up and fix the fucking fence. Get the fence fixed and I'll have sex with you.
Everything's ringing now.
I know the chords in our thing.
Just hurt all of our feelings, listeners.
Good. What did you just say? You said
all
that
of our
weird.
feelings, listeners. You guys know what I meant. But anyway, the point is, Confidence is sexy in either way, in anything. Hey, Melanie, listen, I just found this thing. It's a Groupon coupon, and we can go to the I don't know, somewhere crazy.
Costa Rica
For $100. I swear I'll do all this stuff. Do you want to do it? I'm
Right.
setting it up.
Right.
Are you in? Or if I came like, hey, I found this thing and I know you don't want to, and I don't know if we can. I don't know if it'll work out, and I don't know if the kid's gonna get off of school, and I don't know if I should, but do you wanna? You're like, what?
I
What?
know, it's the
Come
worst
on, like bring
ever.
some energy, dude.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, and this is tied to law of attraction, like getting shit
Well,
done.
and
Getting goals done. It's like if you tie a high emotional, energetic vibration to something, then it like has 1,000 times more possibility of coming true. You understand what I'm saying?
Right. Yes. Sorry. I thought you were talking more.
Well, kind of, I could, but I don't want to belabor it, I guess. But
Well, no, I want to say, what I was writing down actually goes right along with that. So imagine husbands that, okay, I'm going to frame this by saying, we're assuming that you're in a healthy place and a reasonable place in your marriage. Like you have fairly regular sex, you're nice to each other, no one's a douchoisie, all of that. If you're in that place, but you still are like, man, I struggle with intimacy, I struggle with telling my husband what I want. Here's a good way that you could do this without it feeling so scary in the moment. And it would do a lot of great things. And I would like to know your thoughts on this.
okay.
What if I wrote you a letter? Let's say, like, I get up earlier than you sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes I'll get up earlier than you. And what if I was like, I know, like, how about this? What if we started scheduling sex so that we knew that like the days that we're going to have sex, blah, 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 and it's easier with childcare and all
You
those
mean
things.
you're writing this letter to me?
But I'm right. No, that's like a given in the scenario is that we have scheduled sex on a certain day. But I felt
What are you gonna wear?
uncomfortable. No. Stop derailing what I'm saying. So if I was like, ooh, I feel
You're gonna drink
uncomfortable.
wine?
Shut it. Like in the moment, feeling uncomfortable to tell you when we're actually together what I want. But what if I wrote you a letter the morning before or like the evening before and was like, hey, I really want to be with you tonight. I would love to have sex in A, B, and C fashion. Like, I really like it when you're behind me. And
So you're going to say that in a letter?
It would, okay, this is me saying, is that more comfortable for you? And here's it has dual purposes or triple purposes. Triple purpose.
Tri-purpose.
Tri-purpose.
Tri-wizard blend.
So we call our beans the Tri-Wizard blend, which is really funny to think about. Because it's beans. Anyway, so you say what you want. You actually request the type of intimacy, the type of sexual act that you want to give or receive. You could push your own boundaries and say, oh, I know you like this thing, so maybe I will do this. And then also it will get you in the mood to have to write that down as sexy for yourself and it's sexy for your spouse. And then it helps give you a roadmap when you get into the sack. You have a sack map.
A letter like that would just destroy every man in
a
the
good
best way.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So if you struggle with saying the words out loud, which a lot of this is like, socially, I was told I am not supposed to do this. It would be like you as a man being like, yeah, just go into the street and start doing this to guys. Do that. See what happens. Huh? Yeah? Bring it.
You're like Hattie right
I
now.
know. Huh? So like,
Are you going to go? Are you going to go, son?
You want to go, son? Our kids
Okay,
say that
how about
constantly.
this? How about this? I'm going to flip the script. Ladies,
Lay.
what if
tees.
your man, your husband, wrote you a letter and said, hey, I've been thinking a lot about this and I really want to
I don't think it would work the same the
hold
other
on.
way.
I'm not done.
Okay, sorry.
And I really want to talk more about my feelings because I know it's important and I know that I've been neglecting that side of me. And I know this feels weird. It's definitely not like usually culturally acceptable. And I definitely didn't grow up this way, but I just really want to have like non-sexual conversation with you.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Would you be like, oh, that's weird. That's pushing me in a
No, but I
boundary."
think you could write it in a way that's maybe a little bit more clear and inviting. Like, I would love to sit and talk about your hopes and dreams, or let's sit and talk about like your favorite thing today.
Right.
Like conversation,
if I
like
wrote
Q&A.
you a letter like that, very
Yes.
eloquently, and gave it to you in the morning, would that set you up for like, oh my gosh, I
You
feel
want to know
so
something
emotionally
funny?
connected?
Yeah. This is an insight into my brain. So last night we saw The Lost City. It was really good. I loved it. Did you love it? I loved it. You didn't like it very much.
was okay.
So there were parts in it I don't know, think I'm spoiling anything, but if you haven't seen it and want to see it, don't listen. But there are parts when the guy, I can't even remember his name. Alan was his Channing Tatum's character's name was Alan, like his real name was Alan in the movie, not his character name.
Okay,
in the movie.
okay, yes, go.
So he is like in love with her, right? But he basically just talks about how great she is at things all the time.
Right.
Like, you can write this and you can do that. And he's like really encouraging. And when I was watching, my heart was just like sinking. I was like, I would give anything for Seth to talk to me that way.
What?
I'm actually going to cry about it.
I'm so sad.
Because you don't do that with me. Like, I fixed the fence. I changed my own, like the light in the car, which is little silly things. But I was like, that's why I was so quiet when we were driving home. I was like, God, Seth never does that. Like when I try things, he laughs at me. I
thought that I did do that, but now I know to do it more. So
like you
I'm
laugh
sorry.
at me when I try new things, and it makes me just like not want to do them. And like in the movie, and I mean, I was really seriously like, oh my God, I just saw
it hit something for
what
you.
I want. And so like, I don't know, that just makes me think like if we can't, I don't know how important it is to communicate these things because
it's very important. So now I know. So thank you for doing that in front of all of our friends. I'm serious. Thank you for that because now I know that I have I have a pretty good roadmap because you tell me these things, but now I have an increased GPS to know that. And
your sat nav is turned on.
My sat nav is turned on. So thank you. I apologize that I haven't been doing that while thinking that I was doing it to some degree, but now I know how much more important that is to you. And a lot of people may like be on your end, like, well, it's too late now. So I don't want you to hear that kind of thing. Like I'm telling you, like, shit, you just gave me way more insight into how to love you better. And it's definitely not too little too late, right? But a lot of times couples do that.
I could easily have made, there's tissues right there. I could easily have said that it's too little too late with my, he's trying to reach the tissues. That was funny.
Got him.
And so I guess I really want to drive the point home that without a clear guide of what you want to see, whether that's in intimacy or just hanging out. And I mean, this moment came up because you was like, well, what if I wrote a letter the other way and said I just wanted to talk? Like that to me would be like so life-giving, right? But at the same exact time, without a guide, without like, what do we want to talk about? What do we want to do? How do we want to treat each other? How do we want to love each other? We are just fumbling around in the dark. Like most of us have no idea how to do this stuff. And so kind of, I mean, feels slightly unrelated, but kind of wrapping it back around. I'm trying to do the same exact thing actually with clients of ours and even with our children, like find an example from a movie. Now, this is me saying this to you, even as it pertains to intimacy. Ladies, men, both of you. Find someone, an energy and strive to a character energy. Like the character energy of Alan in the movie is he just like loves her and he puts up with her and she's not nice to him for like the majority of the movie. Right. And like, he just loves her and you can tell, and he's trying really hard and he's like being like goofy, but he's still just always trying to love her. And so like, there's that energy where I go, that's what I want. Like, I want someone like that who says good job, even if you trip and like smash something or you totally screw up, they still say good job. They don't laugh at you. Right. And so even in the sexual energy, like find, and I don't mean a visual, I don't mean like body visual. I mean like an energy of like, I want to feel really confident, like a Beyonce. I want to feel like Beyonce feels when I'm in the bedroom. I want to feel like, you know what I mean? Like how else would you, I mean, it's helpful to have a target to aim for.
Right.
In how you feel when it comes to sex and intimacy, not just how you look or any of those
Right. Well,
things.
remember what I was saying, it's the energetic emotion around it too. Like if like people don't like other people it's difficult to like be around indecisive people a whole lot, right? It's like, oh my gosh, nobody knows. It's like sometimes when I go back home, everybody's like looking at each other to like, who's the guide? Who can I follow here? Oh, there's nobody. And this like, I'm gonna make them mad or make them. It's like boldly go, hey, I like this and this and this. I would love to do that, right? Hey, this feels good because I freaking know if it feels good or not. I know if it doesn't feel good. So hey, I care about this relationship enough. That's a really good point. I care about this relationship enough to tell you, hey, when you touched me way up there, that hurt.
Yeah.
That didn't feel good. It doesn't mean we have to stop having sex and like you're terrible in the sack. It means don't do that again because, the equation, connection and pleasure is like, oh, that's not pleasurable kind of thing, right? Oh, it'll kill the mood or do this or do that. No, you care about the relationship enough to do that. And you can even say that as a caveat, like, hey, I love you, and I actually care about our sex life enough because it's really important to me that when you did that thing, it hurt. So let's not do that again. Whatever it was, touching here, squeezing that, whatever.
And I have said that to you at times, like don't do that. It actually hurts. Like certain positions. And then again, with women, like times of the month are different. Like there's a million different, being pregnant, that's one, like your body is like shifting around inside, and it can sometimes the thing that felt good one day feels really terrible the next day.
And it's okay. It's like, hey, I feel like a filet mignon, but not, I don't know, 2 weeks from now. I might not.
Right. You might feel like a Sonic ice cream.
Well, maybe not that, but.
I've only eaten a Sonic once. But I do want to say, like Seth was saying, it's deciding that these things are important enough to have a conversation as awkward as what we just had, like crying about a movie. That's awkward, but guess what it's going to do? Yeah, it's helpful. It's very helpful. And
helpful.
And so I think that that's something to really, if I can do it right now, you just watched me do this, and this is the beginning of more conversations to come for us about these things. If I can do it, you can do it. And if it's writing a letter, if that works, write the letter. It's really, really important. And if
I can give her a hug in response and not get all weird and bitchy, like, well, I thought I was doing a lot of this stuff.
Oh, you don't think I'm a good husband?
Like, I actually thought that I was doing that. Okay. Am I going to be weird and butthurt and go and like try to explain why I am doing that and she should feel differently? But obviously I wasn't doing it enough, so much so that like the emotionality of it made her cry. Why would I argue with that? I'm not an idiot. You know what I'm saying? But I have argued, and you've argued too and stuff like that. And then that's where like, okay, I just got super vulnerable crying. And most people don't cry on a podcast with thousands of people, right? So it's easier to cry off camera, right? What was I saying with that? Geez, that was good, but I forgot what it was. Then, like, if you can do it, other people can do it. It's like, okay, if you can't do it at home, in the bedroom, or in the kitchen in front of your husband or wife, other people can do it, i.e. perfect example, right? When your wife cries and you're not going to be the one to, like, hug her and get a tissue, then I'll do it kind of thing, right? And guess what? We'll have more sex and way better sex and more fun and more adventure and more awesomeness.
Right.
Because and I'm not saying that in a braggy way. It's just like the equation. It's like, oh, can you get vulnerable? Can you get real? Can you handle conflict and talk about stuff and actually say, hey, that feels good. Would you touch that? Don't touch that. Oh, okay. So just like this example, guess what? I am going to be able to love her better now and find out what one of her core needs are. It's like, hey, to be validated, to be appreciated, to be like seen and be like, most ladies can't do that. You can. Oh my God. I love that. Thank you so much. I think you're literally so amazing kind of thing. Right.
Yeah.
And I'm really saying that. Like a lot of people can't do that. So why wouldn't that formula be like, oh yeah, okay. Sex, adventures, vacations,
right.
creating stuff together. Yeah.
Yeah. I think what's important to note here as well is that I know that the short amount of discomfort that I would feel in exposing that truth to Seth, the payoff is almost incalculable. I cannot calculate how that will pay off positively in our marriage moving forward. And if you can fix these things within your intimate and sexual relationship, it will transfer over into other areas. There'll be more honesty, more truth, more clarity, more kindness in all other areas.
Way more areas than just interpersonal, family, kids, like
intrapersonal, like your relationship you have with yourself. Like it
all starts there. Don't even get me started on that. It all starts there. It starts here with you, and then comes here, and then guess where it goes? It goes to our family, right? So looking at it from that lens,
The initial discomfort is the price that you pay for the reward of healing and health and wellness on the other side, right? Like if you want a freaking frappuccino, you'll fork out $8 for some bullshit that costs you $2 to make it home. But anyway,
the cost of your new life is your old one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fixing to do a coaching commercial right now. Like, if all of this sounds good, oh, I wish I could have that and that and that and that and that and that and that 100 times over. Wish your life away. Now it's years later and you don't have it because you didn't do anything about it.
Too bad for me.
Too bad for you.
Wasn't in the cards.
Guess what? A lot of people are going to have it.
You make your own deck. You make your own deck. It's in your cards if you
make
put
your
it
own deck?
in your hand.
So email us, get on the phone call with us. Let's have a conversation about coaching. Like, if you want these things, we do individual coaching, we do couples coaching, but not for the baby ass pansies, right? You put in the money, you put in the effort, you put in the time, and it works. Okay? So go to coaching, email coaching@anatomyofmarriage.com or hello@anatomyofmarriage.com. We'll get on the phone, see if it's right for you, and just do exploring with you, right? Oh, I want this, I want this, I want this. Well, let's bust the hell out of those blocks that you've had forever that are keeping you stuck and this and that and whatever and all excuses. Coaching is a place where excuses go to die. Kicking and screaming, they come here.
What was it? Cody used to have a thing. Our old coach used to do the thing where he was shooting birds at his problems. And I was like, that is actually the post he did that I was like, I want him as my coach. It was him shooting a bird.
At your excuses?
And he was like, this is what I think about all your excuses. And I was like, I love him.
That's the dude. Right. So thank you so much. Thank you, Melanie. I do think you're awesome. I believe you're awesome in this heart of mine for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for showing up, Timothy.
Are we shaking
Yes,
very
we're shaking
non-passionately?
Yes, I love you. Thank you.
I love you too. Thank you. So, guys, thank you. If you want more of this, it's been all over the place. Go to patreon.com/anatomy of marriage and also email us hello@anatomyofmarriage.com to see if coaching will help your life.
we're gonna
I know it
continue,
will.
yeah.
It's just if you decide to do it or not.
We're going to
Don't-
continue this actual episode in Patreon as well. So we're going to do, because we didn't get through all of the questions and there's some really good ones. Really good ones that I want to cover. So thank you for writing in. And if you have a question, you can send it in to hello@anatomyofmarriage.com and get it answered on the show.
Boom. All right.
All right. Love you guys.
See
Talk to
ya.
you later. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Anatomy of Us. This podcast is produced by my mom, Melanie Studley, and hosted by my dad, Seth Studley. Our show is edited and published by our producer, Reba Hansen, from Creative Media Support. Special thanks to our Patreon members that get an extra episode every week. Thanks for watching. Love you. Bye.